No. We're still good.
Cool.
Good evening, afternoon, everybody. See, I was looking at my computer, Generoso,
Oh, that's
because
okay.
I assumed that it adjusted to the fact that I was in Michigan, and it was the only part that didn't adjust to the fact that I was in Michigan. We have not been recording for the last hour on 22 panels, as Lily Generoso and I have talked baseball, which we
Woohoo.
sometimes do on the podcast too, but like you have a new comic out, so we wanted to make certain we led with the comic. And since we led the conversation with baseball, we waited to hit the record button. So my guests today are uh, Lily. I don't want to mispronounce the middle name
Uh,
or the
Ta.
yeah,
uh,
Lilita Vieira.
Lily Fierro and Generoso Fierro,
Thank
whose
you.
new book, The Interpretant, is in stores now, and you guys continue to it's the word I'm looking for. Push and expand your style by being while remaining like completely identifiably you.
Oh,
You,
that's
you
very
know,
sweet. Thank you,
it,
Ted. That's
it's
Thank
it's
you.
kind of
not
you.
it's not the reinvention, but it's always like, oh, we're finding a new level for this.
Mm.
We
Um,
sweat that a lot for this book for sure. I think it's something that every book we are always trying hard to push our own boundaries. I think like for me, like conceptually, I think for Generoso artistically, and then of course like how we work together, we're always constantly trying to reevaluate, shift a little bit, learn more. And yeah, so thank you. I really appreciate that because this one I think we pushed ourselves really hard to try for that expansion.
yeah, like I mean, again, it's like you, but both more and less. Like I'm used to having odd panel structures, but sometimes you emphasize like I feel like sometimes the space between panels is even bigger to emphasize them. But then other pages is like, wow, that's almost for lack of a better term right now, normal, which is from Lily and Generoso is not what I ever expect. Six vertical panels. I feel like I saw that in a Marvel comic book. How is it possible that
I love vertical panels actually. I think they're
oh,
beautiful.
vertical panels are great.
Yeah, and I think that's something like we talked about a lot in this is this kind of play in anchoring the story, which is more abstract in many senses than what we've done before. Anchoring those vertical panels visually, but also just a little bit conceptually to kind of give us everybody like a little bit more of like checking points of like the vertical panels help move the narrative in one way, but then it gives better transition for things that are a little more experimental. I think Generoso probably can also give you a little bit more from his perspective there.
It really is perspective. It's the way we change the panels, Ted, is about who is really giving you the view because we wanted to be very immersive. That's always been the thing with our books, but we wanted to make sure that when you came to a page and the panels were done in a certain orientation, I think that's fair to say, you start to wonder subconsciously, like whose view are we getting at this juncture? And I that's why it's so static early on. I can honestly say that aspect was very intentional and how it changes throughout the course of the book, I think says something about. But yeah, your assessment about our earlier stuff it was done in a way that kind of set a mood that was a lot more chaotic, and I think that that was important as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like, and none of that was supposed to be like negative criticism of earlier stuff or
No,
this
not at
stuff.
all.
It,
No, no,
it's
no.
it's it's totally like one of the things I love about reading any new book to you from you guys is I feel like I'm seeing masters evolve. It's
Oh,
kind
you're
it's
very
kind
Thank
it's
sweet.
you.
Thank you.
it's kind of like reading. I mean, despite the fact that the subject matter and style are completely different, there's a similarity to like reading Love and Rockets. Like they came
Oh,
out
sweet. Wow.
fully formed masters, but particularly when you read them in order and you spend some time with it, like you notice that like they never let themselves get bored. They never let themselves get
It's true.
lazy. They never stopped reading comics. They never stopped trying new
No.
things. They never, you know, and like, one of the things I love about the fact that we do a Love and Rockets book club where we've been going through like issue by issue is I think that sometimes when you just pick up a Love and Rockets new, you can go, oh, nothing's changed. And
Oh,
on one
wow.
level, nothing has because they are still completely distinctly Jaime and Beto Hernandez. But when you're going through like issue by issue in a shorter period of time and therefore have to like see, it's like, oh, they've been reading this. Oh, look how they did this. Um,
Think, think of that time range. My Lord. I mean, that's to watch that development. We do that with directors. We definitely have done it with comics as well. But that one, kudos to you for doing it issue by issue. That's fantastic. But
hey,
really seeing
80
that growth.
episodes. Well, yeah, 80 episodes so far. We're 10 issues into volume two. We did all the in between years stuff too, the Whoa Nelly and the
Oh,
Luba and
wow.
the Luba comics and stories and the measles, and I feel like there was one other in between years. So that's how we're at 80, even though there's only been 60 Love and Rockets. You know, I'm just doing math in my head. Autism. I'm gonna shut up now and let you guys talk
Oh,
about your
no,
book
it's
again.
please.
No, it's yeah, I
Well,
think
thank you for again for the praise. We're trying.
yeah, we're trying. I think like every new book, we're always like I think looking to go to a new like source of research, new source of inspiration, and I think that's what keeps us energized. Like that's a huge
Right.
part of like continuing to make work. And I think like for me, the as like the progression has gone for writing the books, I think I started out with like more inspiration from fiction as well as like a little bit more inspiration from some of the previous like research work that I did. And then now I think the books have moved more in a philosophical direction. And so each us like with Absim, it had some foundations in like Descartes. This one has foundations in Christian mystics. So yeah, I think we're really every single time trying to go to a different place. And like you said, also like not lose what we like enjoy about our work and especially that experiential piece. I think that's always something when we are going from kind of the first prose draft, first prose piece about what the book is going to be about. We spend a lot of time talking about like the experiential part.
Yeah, sorry, I got caught up by your posters behind you for a second. Like the and
All the movie
particularly
stuff.
I'm particularly struck by the movie poster.
Oh, the Alex Cox
That's
generic
Repo
movie
Man.
poster.
That's Repo Man, actually. Alex
Is it?
sent it to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had gone to an event in Los Angeles where that poster was up, and we helped fund his last movie. We just Kickstarter and what have you. And he's like, "Is there anything you want for your pledge?" And I'm like, "Wow, you don't have that generic poster for Repo Man lying already." He goes, "I'll send you one." And so he sent us that. But all the other posters behind us, these are all from interviews we've done. We also write for Ink19.com, film reviews. We've been doing that for over a decade now.
Which,
And
for
we've been
whatever
very,
reason, those all come to my social folder.
that's
Like, so
okay.
but the folder that I look at the least is where those actually get. So I only notice them if they happen to be on top and or if if I'm going through and cleaning out the folder. Haven't figured out how to make them go to a different folder.
No, it's okay. We're very lucky that these are a lot of directors who we've talked to or interviewed for Ink19, but they're also people like you'll look at the Cutter and Bone is actually a movie from the early 80s called Cutter's Way, and the Czech
Ah,
director
that's why I was having trouble finding it on IMDb.
Jeff
I was
Bridges.
looking for it.
I love that. It's one of our favorite films from that era ever, really. And Ivan Passer, who passed away, I think about 5 years ago, 6 years ago, was at the New Beverly Tarantino's theater in Los Angeles, and I got to speak with him there, and that was a huge thing for me because one of those kind of formative films. As a young person, it just blew my mind. Jeff Bridges, John Hurd, a great original source material, the book, but yeah, he signed it very sweetly to Generoso, which I thought was very nice. But yeah, no, it's yeah, we keep these posters, but
And it's where we work. So, it's like
Yeah, yeah.
it's part of like we keep them here as part of memories and again, constant sources of inspiration.
and that's the thing, it feeds back into the book, Tad, because for this last book, for example, we lost a couple filmmakers that have always mattered to me in the 2 years that we were forming this book. Michael Snow is a Canadian experimental filmmaker. His work, Wavelength, if you ever get to see it, is one of those moments that just breaks things in terms of perception of cinema and what have you. And then Bellatar. And I gotta say that, as much of the comic stuff that we read, as much as the paint that we look at and work on, those filmmakers also had a huge input into what we're doing visually, especially for this last book, Michael Snow and Bellatar. I love their work. But yeah, that's how the whole cake gets baked. It's it's but
Well,
I'm glad.
yeah, no, I'm fully. I always love seeing what people have behind them because it almost always says so much about them, their interests, and often because it's pretty common for people to come to me from their workspaces, like what they surround themselves by when they're working creatively. Look at that GI combat.
Am I going to say that Joe Kubert hasn't had, as Jerry Granadetti and all these people? Of course they
Right?
have. This is my first comic book. I really, if you
Wow.
no, 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 not actually physically. These Lily very sweetly, after we finished the comic book, was like, "Hey, let's go to Nirvana Comics and get some comic books." And I'm like, "Oh boy, yeah, combat for when I was little." But I love these Joe Kubert covers. No one at home can see this, but
That's okay.
it's
They know
important.
how to find Joe Kubert stuff.
I
We've
think they
talked about
can.
him once or twice on this podcast.
But yeah, those were my first comics were war comics. All of them, Sergeant Rock and the Losers, and obviously GI Combat, Weird War. My father was in World War II. I didn't really, he didn't like talking about it. So for me, the comic books were a way to try to understand as a little person. Like, hey, Dad, what was World War II? Like, okay, I'm not getting an answer. Let me try to figure this out. But the artwork really just killed me. To this day, it still does.
Yeah. So you mentioned that this one is you delve more into um, Christian mysticism, more into less tangible things. Talk to me about like because the others have been, and I noticed that in this one, that even though it comes from a scientific basis, which made it feel very familiar, that like it kind of then takes steps backwards. We start seeing things like landscapes or horror. I mean, like if there's anything that defines Generoso's art, it's like, can we figure out what this is because we're seeing it at the atomic level?
Yeah. Thank you.
Sometimes you have to figure out what a hand is from the knuckle. With Generoso, you have to figure out what a hand is from the little space in between pores.
Yeah, it's true. And then we would joke all the time of like landscapes. What are we doing here?
So talk to me about like I mean I like losing a couple directors I'm certain could be part of that. Like what what was it with this book that made you decide that you wanted to I hate to say look at something bigger than science because science is also huge, but look at something bigger and mm, less investigable, maybe.
Yeah, yeah. That's a
Yeah.
good that yeah, I think
Good
that's a good
question.
way to describe it. For sure. And I think that a big part of my inspiration for like the concept here is that if we look at the very origins of science, it was all about understanding the causality of things. And I kind of wanted to go all the way back to the earliest foundations. And when you go back to the earliest foundations there, it naturally leads to this broad exploration. And it forces you to look at macro systems and things that have the various things that can potentially cause more than just like the immediate sense of what we can see, right? I think that's why like science as a practice early on was kind of mixed up a little bit more with philosophy. It was mixed up a little bit more with religion because causality goes back to deity, a deity
Right.
or deities, right? And naturally, I think that was like a perfect way to start layering on
Well, I
um,
mean,
yeah.
add to that that most religion is about trying to assign meaning to some sort of reality. And
Mhm.
at the times at the beginning of science, the religious people also tended to be the people who could read and write. Um, that makes lots and lots of sense. I'm doing the dumb person's version right now as
Oh,
I
it's okay. No,
unpack it in
no.
my head.
No, and exactly, and I think that's why there is like this kind of looking at what is maybe not provable, and then things that are provable as well, and navigating like how a single person is working through these
Right.
different states, right? I think like one thing that we talked about a lot is the concept of like planes of perception, planes of understanding, and look going to that idea of like what are the original parts of causality and how we understand our universe, how we understand ourselves, how we understand God,
Right.
that all just kind of naturally converged and led to, I think, us going beyond just like the really tight look on the knuckle, right? Like thinking more
Right.
about broad deserts, but also,
Oh,
yeah,
we could see all of the knuckles rather than
yeah.
just one.
Yes, almost four. And that's very, very, very intense, isn't it? No, no, but it's true that there's so much in small details that we notice during conversations. You did it just now, like when we were having this discussion, you're like, what is that generic poster behind you? And
Right.
and really, if you look at the way we panel, like the between the conversation that happens later in the film with the astronaut and the desert sister, Juliana, you'll notice that the concentration starts focusing in on different things. You start looking at people's hands. You might look at the wall. You might look at the floor. That's part of
The
a
books.
conversation.
I looked at the books a lot.
Yes, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah, yeah, and that's it's so important because it's a way for, Juliana, the main character, is silent. So how do we understand Juliana? It's of course her actions, but yeah, those
Right.
books mean a lot to her and are a big part of that experience. I think the other thing I wanted to kind of call out as well is like it, even though we definitely go broad with landscapes, I think what we also wanted to play around with was how do we construct our own symbols and attach meaning to symbols. That's actually where the title comes from. So if you see various symbols and signs, how do we as like humans ultimately interpret them and what those signs represent? And that's why I think like before when we were off recording, you were talking about this idea that a lot of our books are kind of like puzzle boxes in some senses. And I think we really wanted to push that further here. And the major reason why is I think that in a world where generative AI is going to become super pervasive in ways that we don't even necessarily perceive, understanding like the individual nature of like symbols and meaning is important when language, which is kind of the symbol that we all first work with, is now becoming kind of dispensable.
Right. Hmm. So many different thoughts.
it's okay. If it takes you somewhere like Dash Shaw,
I
the
yeah, I love Dash Shaw.
Yeah, he wrote a really nice thing about this book, and it was about just like I put on an astronaut suit and I'm taking a journey, and I'm like, awesome. Like, thanks,
Right.
Dash. Yeah, like that really meant the world to us because we love his work, as I'm
Right,
sure
right.
you do.
I do.
Um, and yeah, if that's however you
No,
take,
no, I was just like, because I was still pondering the religion aspect, and then she dropped the generative AI aspect, and now I have like two threads of questions going. So we're going to stick with religion for a second,
Yeah.
um, just because I have always been really bothered by the quote unquote war between science and religion, because I've always kind of viewed it as like religion is belief in things not seen. Key word there, not seen. Science is seeing and figuring out how things work. They shouldn't and don't need to conflict.
Yeah, no, they certainly don't. And there is no reason to. And I think that
um
to be a better scientist, you actually, and this is just my personal opinion, to be a better be a better scientist, you have to have faith in the meaning of the unseen.
right,
It's a driver of your curiosity. I
right.
think if you don't have that, I think it would be hard to be as curious.
Well, and it also goes to like, and I guess part of where the war with from the religious side comes in is like, I think a lot about word meaning sometimes, and I'm really big on having ideas more than beliefs, because beliefs are much less malleable. I think beliefs should be held for relatively absolute big things, and everything else is an idea, because as you get new information it should change. Like, so Christianity, it makes sense to me that you believe that that Christ is the Son of God and saved your sins. Those make sense as beliefs, but deciding that, like, because Noah had an ark, there were no dinosaurs. I don't understand why that belief needs, like, where, and likewise, I don't understand, because you will run across people who think of themselves as scientific thinkers, that want to reject all of religion with any of the good parts that come with it, any of the community that may come with it, and any of the just comfort in, like, there are huge things that I don't know, but if I can assign them to this, I feel a little bit better. Want to reject it because, well, how do we know? It could be wrong, blah, blah, blah. It's like, you don't. That's the point.
yeah,
Yeah.
When you do, then we'll shift again, and that's okay.
it's true.
But some of these things are pretty big. I don't know if we're ever gonna know.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That's my point. And that's what I like about this book, is it balances kind of the research and learning more with the, but this is a nice place, and wraps in the, but even though this is a nice place and it's nice to just, maybe 20 days was too much. I don't know if being alone for that long is actually something I was built for.
Of course.
Yeah, I think it's
And I
hard.
love that reality. Like this book, I fully can't even fully, like, conceptualize the question that is asking, but it's asking it on a molecular, human, and galactic level all at once. For that matter, I'm not 100% certain that it's on Earth. And I think that that's supposed to be on purpose.
Yay!
Yay! Yes, exactly. It is 100% supposed to be on purpose.
Yeah.
It could either be on another planet entirely, or it's on a futuristic Earth where spacesuits are required to get to this place in the desert. Either one is possible.
Absolutely. We left out a lot of cultural identifiers in terms of time. So
Right.
that's also like there's a truck. We see a truck. What kind of truck is it? Who knows? It could
Right.
be 40 years old, could be 50 years old, could be last week. And that's also very important about creating that level of ambiguity.
Yeah.
Are we on Earth? Are we somewhere else? But that strip away all that.
How much of that ambiguity is in the writing, and how much do you guys have your version? You just don't want to limit your readers.
That's a good question.
Yeah, I think there's a good chunk that is by design almost in the unspoken of what is written. So the first prose version has maybe a little more glimpses at like people's motivations a little bit more. There more hints there in actual word form.
Yeah.
Um, but there's still a lot of ambiguity left. And a major reason why is that like we do want people to take our books and have a personal connection to it. And I think
Right.
that if we're overly specific, then it forces it in a certain direction, right? And we
Right.
never want our work to be that way. And I think like when Generoso and I were working when it comes to this idea of like not including particular time identifiers, it's not anything we explicitly discussed ever. Oddly enough, I think it was just something that like is implicit in the prose to a certain extent, and then you just like took it home. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I don't think there was ever a moment, Ted, where she was like, make sure you don't put a cell phone in. Like it's not really about that, but I put myself in a place as I was drawing it of what I wanted that place to be like, and a lot of things that are of more contemporary times didn't make it into the book, but it's not really hard designed. I feel like it happened very organically. It flows. I think some of the visual things that we had discussed that led up to this also have this timeless quality about them. It all blended in that way when we constructed it, but it allows for you to see it. I think there's a something it's very pressing for us is that we just reviewed the film by James Kenneth Wilkins,
The
The
misconceived.
Misconceived. This is a movie that was completely done visually with a game engine, and body motion of actors and everything else. And you say to yourself, well, that's a cute trick and why? But he's doing that so you strip away all of the sentimentality or anything that relates to the American independent film. And that's partly why we do what we do as well. Like we want to keep that level of ambiguity for interpretation, but at the same time, we do set a world up that we think you can be very immersed into,
Mhm.
which I think Kenneth Wilkins makes sure that you don't do that.
Yeah, yeah, very much so.
You
He does the opposite. But I think like we also are, I think, in search of some sense of interconnectivity of understanding. I think he's more focused on events
yeah.
that impact the zeitgeist, and the concepts of truth. I think we're looking at something a little bit different, but I think in some ways like we care about the same things and think about visual presentation and narrative in the same senses.
You know, something that I'm annoyed by IMDb for is they never give credit to who does the posters. I'm looking at the misconceived poster that's in a
It's
very comic book style, and it doesn't
yeah.
give credit to the artist, and that's
It's
just
funny if you go on Letterboxd, the woman that I believe it was a woman who designed the poster wrote a little story about the making of the poster. So if you go to the letterbox for that, I
yeah,
found that because I love that poster too. But it was one we love an earlier film by Wilkins called The Plagiarist that came out about 7 years ago. And he's constantly putting up short films and pieces.
right.
He had a film last year. And so we were super excited to see this. But that poster, if we had not known his work, would have pulled us into.
Well, like, and as soon as I discovered I couldn't unsee it, but like Jack Davis did the cover or did the poster for Bad News Bears.
Yeah, that's true.
I found that out like recently.
That's crazy.
I've been watching that movie since I was a child. I
Wow.
had the VHS copy that had that poster on the front.
Sure. You know, when we first moved to LA, one of the first things we
Oh
did
yeah.
is we actually went to the baseball field where they shot the movie.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's meant a lot. Michael Ritchie, who directed that film, by the way, is one of the great underappreciated directors of his generation. The Candidate, Downhill Racer, Smile. He's a besides Bad News Bears, which is a wonderful film, and
Right.
the screenplay is fantastic.
Oh
He's a
yeah.
director that needs a lot more love. I think all of his 70s work is great. But yeah, anyway, that I digress. But yes,
I
that
mean,
is
only a
true.
little bit. Oh my, did he also he directed The Scout, which is probably the most underrated baseball movie out there, seeing as it's a 5.5 on IMDb.
Yeah,
And I don't
you
think
know,
it's a perfect movie, but it's it's got some stuff going for it.
I like it a lot. Albert Brooks
Yeah.
actually talks about the Scout, the documentary that the late Rob Reiner did for him, Defending Your Life. He actually talks about how the studio compromised the ending. That was not the ending that he wrote, that he wanted. That they forced that kind of ending. He had another ending. It's worth him explaining it if you've never seen the
Okay.
Albert
I might
Brooks
have to go.
documentary.
Yeah, I'll have to go
It's
look
good to
into that.
watch because we love Albert Brooks. He's like a hero
Yeah.
of ours.
Absolutely.
But yeah, he explains. I think it's a very good film too, except for the ending, and he
Yeah.
explains
But
why.
but overall it reminded me of Sid Finch, the
Hmm.
the the greatest or one of the like easily top five April Fool's Day jokes ever.
Can you explain? I'm a little.
Sid Finch was the cover story on Sports Illustrated, April 1st, 1980 something. It was a Mets pitcher who, Mets phenom that they just signed that like threw 100 miles an hour and wore one like work boot and one barefoot, and they got George Plimpton, I think, to write the article.
That's brilliant. I don't remember this. That's great.
The legend, yeah, here. The Curious Case of Sid Finch is I think the original article. Yeah, April 1st, 1985, Sports Illustrated. Here, let me drop a link for you.
We're looking it up
Yeah.
as well. That's funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that goes right up there with I think it was the BBC did a piece on Swiss spaghetti trees.
Oh, that's great. Because that's where they
and
come
and
from.
this and the Swiss spaghetti crop that included the how do you draw a spaghetti tree? Take a can of tomato paste and stick a piece of spaghetti in it and wait.
That's
Um,
funny. I'm excited to read that, actually. I love things like
but
that.
but yeah, so like that was what it always reminded me of is like we've got this like inhuman fictitious person. So like I think the first time I watched it, I was kind of disappointed that we ever saw him pitch without Albert Brooks being drunk.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it to be this whole thing where this down and out scout had like discovered this guy in Mexico that turned out not only had the anxiety issues and whatnot, but wasn't that good. And I'm okay with it either way. I agree. The ending is overboard and whatnot, and I think it doesn't make the movie better. But I also am not one that thinks that sort of thing makes a movie a ton worse. I would rather have a tacked on happy ending than a tacked on sad ending. And endings are hard. So while I'm certain that there is like that pitch perfect ending out there, if I've got to have an ending that doesn't feel right, I'd rather have it feel right in or not feel right in an unnecessarily what's the word, like
Sad.
saccharine way, than an unnecessarily sad way.
It's tough. We've coined the term Hollywood ending for a reason, is that, and if you could hear Albert Brooks describe it, they wanted that for the ending of the film. And it's always a hard call, especially by that point in Albert Brooks's career. He had made so many intelligent, well-made, well-received films that you almost hope that they'll just default to him and be like, no, it's not a good idea because I'm Albert Brooks and dot dot dot. But that's unfortunately not what happened. But we've seen directors bigger than him, greater than him, get vetoed on things.
Oh
So
yeah.
but it's a shame because again, you always like to see everything come through the way it does. And
Well, this is where I need to ask you guys a completely off-topic question,
sure.
because in the film, and I don't consider myself part of the hardcore film community. I watch more movies now than I have in a while.
Mhm.
Partially because of people like you, partially because I've got
Thank you.
a weekly movie club with my family.
Ah,
Um,
lovely.
but probably the most divisive movie among people that I know to come out in the last few years, and I'm on the minority side, is Megalopolis. What did you think?
So we were living in a place where it could not be screened, and critic friends of ours in LA and what have you were like, don't watch it at home. Wait till it's screened. We're still waiting. We've
Okay.
yet to see it. We didn't
See, I
include it.
haven't managed to see it screened either, but I've watched it two or three times at home now, even though there's only one place where it can be rented right now, which kind of annoys me because, yes, I want the full experience,
Sure. No, no, no. And
but
it's
I'm
fair.
also a homebody.
Of course.
And like, I'm sorry, like sometimes I feel like I get a more full experience with my headphones on and my phone right here than I do in a movie theater where I have to deal with people.
I was at a panel about 20 years ago with Nicholas Roeg, the great director Nicholas Roeg, and there were a lot of Bob Rafelson was on the panel, Deborah Winger, Tim Roth. There were like a lot of people talking about cinema. And it was right around the time, it was the early 2000s, where people started regularly watching content on their phone. So they turned to Nicholas Roeg. Nicholas Roeg, besides his own films, was a DP on Dr. Zhivago, on Lawrence of Arabia. Like, so he's that level of
Right.
cinematographer. And they said to him, Nicholas, how do you feel about, children watching, imagine if they watched your film Walkabout on a phone. And he told an interesting story very quickly. He said, I grew up in a town where we had one movie theater, and that movie theater was horrible. He was like, it smelled of urine and beer, and the seats were sticky, but it was the only theater I knew. And whenever I could see a film there, I felt comfortable in that theater. So as much as I'm not in love with the idea of somebody watching their one of my films on a phone, if that's the most comfortable they feel with an apparatus, then they're gonna have to go for it. And it was surprised them because at the time, Ted, he must have been in his mid 70s. So
Right.
you're expecting him to be like, well, if you can't watch it on film, then don't do it. For us, we knew Megalopolis was going to be a visual thing. And we were really hoping that it would have come, but we were in flux when it came out and we just did not have a chance to see it properly. But we're hoping that with Reputation that there'll be midnight screenings of it, that there'll be screenings where we could see it properly. We tend to skew more on the foreign film and very small American
No, I
independent.
know you do.
But at the same time,
In
like,
some ways, that actually, though, because I think it's kind of the influence of some of the stuff that you guys have steered me towards, and some of the stuff that like Matt Rosenberg has steered me towards, and like I like a lot more of the more oddball. Like I got to interview Jason via email,
Hmm.
and like went down a Jim Jarmusch rabbit hole, and because
it's a great
uh
rabbit hole.
Yeah.
it is. But like it's like one of the things that I've noticed, and I brought up Megalopolis in particular, which by the way, there's also a fantastic comic of. I got
Oh,
to
good.
talk to Chris Ryle about making it,
Hmm.
and
Oh, cool.
one of the things that he talked about was uh, like Coppola was incredibly like helpful and worked with them, but also bent over backwards. He's like, no, 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 no. I don't want a comic version of Francis Ford Coppola's Megalopolis. I want Chris Ryle and Jacob Phillips Megalopolis.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Good for him.
So I actually read the comic before I saw the movie, and as is so often the case, I do think the comic is better. Um, in part because one of the things that comics do that movies it's much more difficult to do, particularly if you're in a theater, is allow you to stop, savor, and think about something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can sometimes do that at home if you're quick on the pause button and think about it in the right moment, but you do it naturally when you're reading a comic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You do it naturally when you're reading a comic. There's that natural, okay, I need to take all of this in. What's going on here? What's being said to me? Um, and like I found both Megalopolis, the movie, and the comic to be just fantastic allegories, and I'm on a very short list of people who seem to think that. Whereas almost everybody I know is like, uh,
A couple of our critic friends really,
Jordan
yeah,
put
Jordan liked it.
Megalopolis
Yeah.
on his
I
top 10
trust
for the
Jordan's
year.
taste.
Jordan has excellent taste. He runs the Acropolis Cinema. It's a micro cinema in Los Angeles, but he also writes for Art Forum and Film Comment, and he put it on his top 10 list.
okay.
I think a great example of this kind of the polarization of film. We saw film this year finally on the big screen. Last year, Julie Ducournau won the Palme d'Or in 2022 for a film called Titiane, which we liked very
Yeah.
much. But there were a lot of people that were like, why are they giving this film the Palme d'Or? And so her new film came out last year, and I have never seen a film savage like that. I really mean it. They were like lying at the gate going, oh, we're going to prove to you that that Titian pick was wrong. And I felt like no matter what, this could have been Citizen Kane Part 2. They were going to destroy it. And it's a very good film.
And it's really sad because like the film's called Alpha and it has an allegory, it has a satire, but and it is actually something that plays with memory in an interesting way. But outside of all of the really nasty criticism, everybody is missing out on one of the great acting performances in a
Yeah.
very long time from Tahar Rahim. And so it's kind of heartbreaking that this film is so polarizing. And I think we are definitely in the
Oh
minority.
yeah, we'll be killed if
Yeah.
we actually write. Because no, in the middle of writing the comic, writing the Interpretant, we saw the film and we were actually composing a piece called the review that Alpha we feel that really deserves. And again, I'm not saying it's a complete masterpiece, Tad, but it's a very good film. And you wonder with Megalopolis, there was so much made about, oh, he's selling his vineyards to make it and he's doing this. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, you want to give me backstory? Who cares? What is the movie? Like, everybody gets
Well,
so
and
frustrated by this backstory crap. It's like, is it a
well,
good film or not?
and also like when you're a Coppola or a McCartney or a Mobius, you know, um, people will have expectations going into the movie. And if you don't hit those expectations, the question is, will they watch again to figure out what your expectations were? Or will they just be disappointed that you didn't make their movie, their album, their comic?
Yeah.
It's fair.
We
You
the
know, this is where I bring it back to your book and like the comics discussion in general is that um something I tell my students is like you're the final collaborator.
Right.
What you think matters, but
Mhm.
also um because you're the final collaborator, you didn't like this book that everybody else is liking and you can't figure out why. Let's first go, well, where were you when you had to read it? Did your boyfriend just break up to you? Did your mom
Sure.
just yell at you? Were you hungry? Were you sick? I mean, and this is why, like, I kind of say fuck you to the filmmakers who like, oh, it should only be seen on the big screen and whatnot. Because I'm like, I'm autistic. I can sometimes handle that, and sometimes I can't. And also I can't tone out conversations. So like if somebody's not having a good time and they're just joking back and forth 6 rows behind me, I'm going to hear every word. And if like 3 rows in front of me, the guy's like trying to get his girlfriend to mess around, I'm going to hear every word. And that's all going to affect how I look at your movie, whether I want it to or not.
Sure.
like
Yeah.
like one of the things I say is like, yeah, I do some of my comic reading on my phone just for expedience sake. But like when I will deliberately go, "Oh, I need to read this on my phone," is when I love it so much that I want to zoom and focus. I want to be able to look at pages and look panel by panel. I want to get into the minutia in a way that's much harder to do with the physical object. And in general, when I'm doing that, I've already read the physical object. I've sometimes read the physical object in floppy form and paperback form and hardcover form and oversized form.
Well, as an illustrator, I have a question for you then. So when you look at a page and you scrutinize an aspect or a panel, are you more concerned about the virtuosity of the actual work, or is it like, I don't want to miss something? Do you know what I mean? There are people that look at work like Theo Ellsworth's work and are like, wow, how does he draw that many little lines? And I'm like, that's cool because it's really intricate
It's
stuff.
beautiful.
It's
I,
beautiful
I
work,
no,
but
I have an easy answer for this,
yeah,
and it explains why I get granular. It's first the virtuosity of the work, but once I've fallen in love with it, I want to figure out all of the reasons why I fell in love with it.
that's
I
fair.
want to take it apart and put it back together.
Mhm.
I mean, I use Saga as my example all the time, and
Sure.
one of the things that like it was on one of the phone reads that I noticed when there's violence involving Marco after he's taken his oath to not do violence, the
Mm.
panels are crooked.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what we do.
No, I know, but
Yeah.
like I I probably read Saga in its entirety a dozen times before I noticed that, but I'm also certain that even that first time, it had an
It
effect
was there.
on how much I loved. It affected the way I felt about it. It was I noticed a little bit before I did the granular read that there's all sorts of like 80s technology in Saga. 50s to 80s technology.
Mhm.
You can find a rotary phone booth in Saga. You can, the Will watches movies taken off of a camcorder hooked to a TV with RCA cables. Like all of these little things that take this intergalactic tale and like very low key make it feel more personal, less out there.
Fair. Do you ever start? It sounds like you usually don't start with the granular read because I
No, I
imagine,
don't start
yeah,
with the
okay,
granular read.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because
No, no, no.
otherwise you would miss kind of like the sweeps,
Right.
right? Like in
Right.
the
Right.
page
Right. I
dynamic.
mean,
Yeah.
the only things I ever read for like the first time on a phone are when I'm trying to get a superhero comic in on a deadline and I'm
Right.
not somewhere that I can do it. In other words, where my expectations for fantastic art are relatively low. Also, I am a big believer in, and I have it set up so that I see the page and then it zooms in and then I see the page again. So even though I'm seeing it smaller, I'm getting to see the flow. Most of the apps, if it is a two-page spread, will put it as a two-page spread rather than as a single page, and I'll have to turn it sideways to see the, you know, I mean, the people, not all the time, but a lot of the people who adapt the digital files for reading think about these things,
Mhm.
Mm. Mm.
so it's not as, but we are on a clock and we have to ask final
Oh, we have about
questions
another,
as fast as we
like about
can.
another 10, 15 minutes. It's
Well,
totally
I
cool. So
know,
don't
but
feel
I
you have
have
to, no, no, no.
no, I know, but I have two closing questions now, and one of them I'm going to make you go longer because it turns out you were DJs. Um,
Sure.
my first question, um, I'm in my fifth year doing this podcast, and I feel like I've entered the twilight zone. When I talk to you guys, I feel like you've lived in the twilight zone your entire lives because you've
It's
lived
a
like
nice
six
place.
lifetimes apiece. Um, like the conversations I get to have, the people I get to meet, the people who become friends of mine, the things that I get to do that, like, if you told me even 10 years ago, hey, this is going to be part of your life, I would have gone, yeah, fuck you, on what planet? That now are just like commonplace to me. It's like, oh, so and so just texted me. And like my wife just knows them by their first name now. But if I look down in a comic shop and I happen to say that out loud, they're like, what the fuck? That sort of thing. Um, but I found that that's true of like everybody in the arts, certainly everybody in comics. So tell me one of your surreal pinch me, is this really my life memories?
Oh, I was gonna say I have two,
Please.
but I want Generoso. I think Generoso's pinch me ones are interesting too. But I think my pinch me moment was sitting down and having dinner with Clive Chin, who really is credited as the person who invented dub. And yeah, that was from our radio show days. And it was just yeah, that was a pinch me moment because he was wonderful, beautiful. He's a phenomenal producer. Some of the greatest reggae tracks from the kind of like early 70s to mid 70s have Clive's hands on them. And yeah, I was a little flummoxed to say the least. And to be in like the presence of such greatness.
In terms of just purely musical pinch me moments, doing the radio show for 20 years, I think that my heart stopped a bit. Lee Scratch Perry was doing an art installation downtown Los Angeles, and just hanging out with Lee Scratch Perry for a couple hours while he actually made visual art, having
Right.
listened to his music since I was 10, was that moment of like, I have a video of it. I'll actually send it to you.
Oh,
That's a pinch me moment that I still look at and I'm like, wow, we were just there with Scratch, and he's a really, people throw this word around a lot. He's a genius and he was
right.
brilliant. So that musically, that was huge for me.
I think we have cinema pinch me moments too.
I think a lot of them. I think our favorite filmmaker in the world right now, I think that's easy to say, is Radu Jude, and we, you get our Christmas card, our holiday card every year, and so we send it to Radu. He's become a friend, and he wrote this like nice review of our Christmas card, and I was like, it's Radu Jude. He's If you haven't seen Do Not Expect Too Much from the End of the World, that is our favorite film of the decade so far. No one, he's in Dracula last year is insane. He's brilliant, but that just sitting down with him because we had loved his films for so long. We had gotten an opportunity to interview him during AF5 Fest a couple of years ago when Do Not Expect Too Much in the End of the World came out. We had no idea what he would be
Yeah.
like. the thing that kind of got us about Radu, we're like, well, let's time box this for Radu because my God, he makes a short film every month. He has 2 features a year. He didn't want to get off the conversation. We talked for almost 3 hours. And it
I
was like,
know how that goes.
well, no, but we kept giving him outs. I'm like, Radu,
No,
certainly
I
you're
know
in
how that
Berlin.
goes
And
too. Yeah, I
but
love it.
he was lovely, and yeah, I that was a pinch me moment because he really is. Him, and Miguel Gomes. There's a few filmmakers that we put in this hierarchy: Pedro Costa and Albert Serra, and Radu is definitely one of them. We love his work. He really tries to do something different every time,
All
and
right.
he's always successful. He's a brilliant
Yeah,
filmmaker.
and he's evolved immensely. We saw one of his early films years ago, and if you look at like that film that was Aphorim, and you look at where he's at now, the evolution and the progression is kind of incredible, and like it's almost awe-inducing to see like the vastness of the growth.
Yeah, it is. It's a great filmmaker. If there's anything, besides hopefully people will want to see our work, we would love if people checked out more of Radu Jude's work. It's very accessible. It's not like,
All right.
it's 8 hours looking at a cabbage. Like it's not.
Dracula is maybe
Ah,
not the easiest film,
yeah,
to
it's
say the
true.
least. But it's all of his with Dracula originally kind of
He's
being tied
making,
to Vlad the Impaler, the Romanian figure. It's a take on kind of all of the different variations of the Dracula myth-ish. I'm not really describing it particularly well on purpose, because
Right.
it's a wild film.
it was our
Okay.
favorite film of last year as well. And
Okay.
yeah, he's great. But yeah, there's definitely pinch me moments.
So I have to ask the quick question, just regarding film and foreign film in particular. Are you guys multilingual or are you just really good at reading subtitles? Because I sometimes have the subtitles take me out of the film because I don't read fast.
So my first language was Italian
Okay.
in the home, and Lily.
My first language is Vietnamese. Kind of second language is Cantonese outside of that in the home.
Right.
And then I spoke Spanish growing up, and then I do speak some Italian, but to the level that I can like actually watch any films in those languages without subtitles, it'd be hard. Whereas I think Generoso, you can watch films in Italian without subtitles for the most
Oh,
part.
of course, yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's my first language, so it's kind of embedded in me. I also speak German, and I'm learning French right now, actually,
Well,
which
and
is
yeah, I
great.
mean, linguistically, once you've got more than two and certainly more than three languages, you picking up more or breaking them down in your head is easier just because of the this is when I get into like crazy neuro
Yeah.
whatever. We won't go there because we have another question, but that makes sense. So you guys are definitely more able to make sense of the subtitles in a quicker way than I am because that's the probably the only reason that I don't watch more foreign films
Mhm.
because I often like them more. I feel like Hollywood has gotten too generic.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's good,
Um,
for the record, there's good film being made in this country
absolutely.
independently. The
Yep.
Misconceived we just ranted about is an
Right.
American independent film, and it's,
But
no subs there.
right.
Um,
Right.
there's
But
stuff definitely happening, yeah.
yeah. I mean, my friend Jim Terry just made a movie called Shank that I adore
Oh,
for
cool.
all sorts of weird reasons. Um,
But Hollywood
but
itself sucks.
well, but also like in our lifetimes, there was a time where independent movie would still get backing, where independent where there was a dark horse and an image and a mad cave of independent film. Independent film didn't have to be a zine fest. Right now, it feels like independent film is a zine fest.
Yeah,
Yes and no.
in
A24 Neon, that kind of thing, but they're even big
yeah,
now.
they're big. I think
Movie.
yeah, but even movies moving towards bigger, though at least they distribute the small ones, right? Like that's
Right.
the big thing is like, so I think very much of a film that we adore called Slow Machine.
Yeah.
And that is, I think it's definitely made in that zine-like way of
Right.
a film equivalent, and that the directors made it over the course of weekends where they were not working and their buddies weren't working.
Right.
And
No,
it took a while.
that's
Yeah.
how Jim's movie was made. It was like they made it over like the course of a year and a half where like they just ran around Chicago and just, like I was at they got to do a screening at the like Goodman Theaters Education Center. And I was at
Mhm.
that. And one of the questions was like, you've got some like crazy stunts and what was the most dangerous thing you did? And he's like, we didn't get any permits or anything like that. And we had scenes with guns on the streets of Chicago.
Very Larry Cohen of them.
It is.
Yeah.
Those were the most dangerous scenes. Like shoot it, drop the plastic gun, walk away.
No, if you've ever seen it, there's a 70s horror film called Q the Winged Serpent. It's a Larry Cohen for we love Larry. We got to meet him in LA. That was a pinch me moment because we adore him. But there's a scene in the film where these policemen are shooting at this winged, prehistoric serpent, and he got no permits, and all of a sudden people 40 floors down are getting pelted with empty shell casings. And they're calling the cops like they're terrorists on this building that are shooting up. Like,
Yeah,
guys, come on.
they used only toy weapons.
Fair enough.
Fair.
But yeah, no,
But there many of them were brown, and it was the city of Chicago.
of course. Yeah, it's a little dangerous. Somebody could make a horrible, deadly mistake, and
Right.
I'm surprised that people didn't shoot Larry Cohen's crew.
Oh yeah, but I think it was in New York, a very different time.
1970s
Yeah.
New York is true. You can
Yeah.
get away with that. But
Right.
it is crazy. There are a lot of great American independent films. There's a network of distribution a lot of times through micro cinemas in most cities. And I think that that's kind of where the film parallel, the Zine Fest is happening. You have these small movie theaters that pop up in various locations that'll show a film for maybe like 100 people. That was what Acropolis was for us in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
There's versions of that in New York and Chicago, and where you get a better audience. And I'm gonna say it, people that really love
Yeah, those
film.
audiences I'm way more okay
Me too.
with,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you
They
know.
want to be there. If you're going to show up to a room that has a mop and a broom in the corner, you
Right.
know that you really want to see a film. It's not about like date night.
All
Um,
right. Final question before you guys have to run.
Thank you.
And because you're film nuts, comic people, and I have heard DJs, I actually need three parts to the answers to these. I want a film, I want a comic, and I'll let you go with either an artist, an album, or a song for the but tell me something you love. I almost don't need to do the next part because you have such eclectic and underground tastes, but it's the way that it's phrased. Tell me something you love that not enough people around you have experienced, and you want them to, so that you have more people to talk about it with.
Let's talk. Do you have something?
You go first because I'm going to take a while because it's a film, a comic, a song, or an album, right?
Yes, well, song, album, musician, and for that
Okay,
matter, I'll give you that for all of them. Like it doesn't have to, if you want to give me a director rather than a film, or like,
fair,
but
fair.
because I don't want to. Normally, I say preferably a comic, but we don't have rules. Preferably storytelling, but we don't have rules. So I don't want to have too many rules for you. Now that I've given you the rule that I want something in each of those genres: music, comics, and film.
Fair enough.
You go first.
So we obviously gave our love affair to Radu Juge, and he doesn't need our help. The hell with him. No, we love Radu.
Well, and also I would have said we already talked about him.
Yeah, we already talked
I
about it.
need something new.
If there is a single film, and I think this might even surprise Lily a little bit, it's Ricky D'Ambrose's The Cathedral. So I will say it is the most non-cliched film I've ever seen about the Italian American experience, to which I am part of that community. It is an independently made film. It is a family drama film, you've not seen anything quite like it. And I think that that is one that even critic friends of ours that review pretty like ground level stuff are like, I have to tell them about The Cathedral. I think that's an amazing film where
A masterpiece.
it
Like
is.
it really is a
It's a
masterpiece.
masterpiece of a piece of American independent cinema. In terms of comics, um, I, Tanashima last year, for example, Tanashima's Before After was one that I was like, wow, she does it all with a ballpoint pen. Now, I shouldn't get into the that kind of thing about that, but the comic itself is great. There's a lot of comics artists we love. You know, we love Dustin Holland. We love Chad's work so much. We can go down the list, but that's one book that I really wish more people would see. I love what she does. Tana's great, and hats off to them. Tana's part of the group, including Austin English, that are trying to build the comics library in New York, which is something if you haven't talked about, I think is a wonderful thing that they're trying to kickstart right now or
I
GoFundMe
have
now.
do me a favor and spell the name because it's not coming up
T
easily on
A
Google.
N A Oshima, Tanoshima.
Oshima.
IMA.
Aha. Now I found it. Before and
Great work.
after.
Really great work. I'm excited. You know, I think the way that you in mentally you say to yourself, if somebody wants a recommendation, you say to yourself, if that person had a new thing out, how quickly will I run to get it? Is the greatest praise you could give to a creator you love. And I think Ton is there, obviously, all the bigger guys that we love in Austin and Friedrich Koche and all those people. But in terms of someone who I think definitely needs a little bit more exposure. And so it was, and then a piece of music. Recently, in the last couple years, as I've been doing the illustrations, I've been obsessed with this jazz trumpeter named Grachan Mankor III from
Okay, you're gonna have to help me again.
Grachan, Grachan, Mankor,
Hey,
Mon.
as it turns out, as soon as I get Gertron in, the rest of it comes up.
Now remember, there's a Grachan Mankor and a Grachan Mankor 3.
3 is the one that comes up.
But I've been really tripping out on Grachan Mankor. I love what he does. And trombones, I have no
I was
lip.
about to say you don't have a lot of people who trip out on a trombonist, so I'm I'm psyched to go listen to some.
I've been a bassist my whole life, but if I had a lip, I would be a trombonist. I have no lip. I've tried. I can't do it. I just can't do it. She's the woodwind player in the family, but brass instruments, I just don't have the lip, or I would be a trombonist or try to be a horrible trombonist. But
Well,
those are my three picks.
Gertjan Mancour the second was a bassist.
Yes. So it's all in a line, but Moncor the third, I love his releases on Actual are outrageously great. So those are my three.
Interesting. I didn't
Okay.
think you were going to pick those three. I wanted to make sure I remembered, like, got the titles exactly. So I
Sure,
think on the
Sydney.
film, I say this all the time. I've been obsessed with this film called Occidental
Yeah.
by an artist named Neil Balufa. Um, it was one that was shown at the Microcinema, Acropolis Cinema, and it's just always stuck with me in that it's a film about a potential political event that you don't know about, maybe a riot going on outside of a hotel, and everything takes place inside of this hotel. And e- every character in the film and every person inside of this hotel is representative of some kind of trope and then not at the same
Yeah.
time. And it's a fascinating work that you could almost think of in many ways. It could have been an installation because it was actually filmed like in a constructed structure. And so you feel like there is this like perfect sense of specificity and ambiguity for every character, every situation, every image. So I've just been obsessed with Neil Balufa's Occidental for a long time. Um,
Okay.
Now, when it comes to, so that's my film pick. Oh, when it comes to my comic pick, the book recently that I've been constantly coming back to, it's actually sitting behind the desk for months. I moved it only because I wanted to make sure that it didn't get like too like anything on it because, I drink my coffee and stuff at my desk.
Right.
Is Varja Lavater's Pictograms. So it's released on 50 watts, I think, as like a reprint of an '08 edition. Um, what she does is she really uses basic symbols in terms of shapes and lines and various different words and tries to tell some stories, explain various concepts and ideas about, I guess, existence,
It's a
society,
great book.
philosophy. Um, Something that I really adore and keep coming back to. And then albums and music pick. This one is really hard for me, and I have to say two. I think one is pretty well known amongst people who like listen to the
Hey,
genre.
I always have to tell people like the last time Nate Powell was on, he said Jonathan Hickman's X-Men. He said, I know plenty of people are reading it, but I run in a different crowd.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And on yeah, so on the reggae side, and I say this because like if you love reggae, like his records have been reissued somewhat recently, so that's why like, if you're in that crowd, maybe this
Right.
is a commonplace pick, but for me it's like Keith Hudson. Like I love Keith Hudson.
As you should.
Um
It's great.
Entering
Whereas I like reggae, but have never heard of Keith Hudson. So, like, I need to go learn about him, just like Rachan McClure, which is why I had to ask these questions. Because, like, ooh, people who like lots of music, the way I like lots of music, I must know now.
And then the other one that maybe is a little less known is a jazz musician, and it's a vibraphonist named Walt Dickerson. And I just adore Walt Dickerson, the record particularly that he did with Richard Davis. It's called Divine Gemini.
Yeah,
Is
it's
it
beautiful.
I probably listen to it once every 2 to 3 months.
Vibraphone is very underrated. And everybody knows Lionel Hampton, of course, but like
Right.
Walt Dickerson is where it's at. And those records, yeah, we listen to a lot of that when we're working.
Yeah.
And not when we're working, pretty much all the time.
Yeah,
So, and those are definitely our picks.
I like them.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I
I want
like
to
Thank
them.
know
you.
what you have
I
to when we
always
get to
have,
see. Yeah, like what do you think about it? Would love to hear it
yeah,
whenever you
sometimes
get
it
the
takes
chance.
time because I always have long piles of stuff to read, watch, listen to, but I will. You'll
Please.
probably hear about the music sooner than the other stuff because that I can put on while I'm playing like baseball on my Nintendo Switch, which
That's
is probably
fair.
what I'll do when I'm done. It's a very calming exercise. When I've been overstimulated, I can just and it like when Phil gave me his backup Switch because I couldn't get baseball on like the new baseball game wasn't for PS4 anymore. It was you had to get PS5 and I only play baseball. So to spend $500 to spend
Yeah.
$100 to
No,
play
no, no, no,
baseball.
no.
But Phil's like, "Well, does it play on the Switch because I've got an extra one."
Oh, good for him. That was
So
nice.
so so my well, I think it might have been his sister's, but she'd upgraded to like the Switch 2 or what. I don't even know. But so like he sent me one for Christmas and like I thought I was going to play it primarily on my TV, but kind of like it's more calming sometimes for me to watch a movie like this. I play it handheld way more than I play it on the TV. I fall into my headphones. I have the game in front of me. I block out the rest of the world.
That's
And,
fair.
and,
Yeah.
and
It's
so
immersive. It's again, I think what Rogue said in that conversation from earlier, it's the truth. If that's how you connect,
right,
connect.
right.
Again, the whole purist thing, oh, it needs to be screened on 35 millimeter. I'd love it if films were always shot screened on film, but that's getting harder and harder.
Yeah.
you do what does you right. And if
Well, and
that's the way you want to
don't get me
relate,
wrong. I think there's a special experience. You know, I went out of my way to go to the 70 millimeter um Hateful Eight.
Oh,
yeah, it
Loved
needs
it.
to be seen.
I loved it even more that he decided to do 70 millimeter for a film that essentially took place in one room.
Yeah,
yeah. You get some like you get kind of landscapes at the like the first 5 minutes, and then that's it. Because
Right.
it's also even in the carriage most of the time.
Right. It was annoying that we wound up in almost the front row. So it was like 70 millimeters, but it was 70 millimeters over here.
I kind of love that though, because it's so massive, right? Even though it
No,
is, yeah,
didn't hate it. But I mean that's the thing is that like every theater experience is different and it you have less control over them. So
that's
like
true.
I don't ever want them to go away, but I think becoming precious about just like you know, I love physical comics, but like the reason I ask for a PDF is like I only have so much space. Now, from you guys, I was going to buy your comic anyway. It was because I want to
very
spend
sweet.
money on your comic.
Oh,
Me
it's
too.
And
very
I don't have
kind.
time to spend money on the comic yet, guys.
No, no, it's okay. We're glad to send you a copy. We're glad you like it.
But half the reason that I ask like most people for PDFs is like I've got limited amounts of space.
Sure.
Like if I'm doing everything physical, like I don't know where the dog will sit.
I understand. No, no, no. Because again, for being DJs for as many years as we are, we have a conservatively, I think, over 5,000 pieces of vinyl in the house. And
Right.
that's, yeah, it gets to be rough every move.
I probably only have 4 or 500 vinyl, but
It's a
I
lot.
ran a music department at Best Buy during the height of the CD era and the time where Best Buy was where you bought your music, and not
Yeah,
just a music department, the largest music department Best Buy had. So like we had the deep dive stuff, we had the imports, we so I probably have close to 5,000 CDs.
that's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, but that's part of it. You just can only have so much media. And then
Right.
overall, yeah,
I mean, I had to build special shelves to put my CDs up
makes sense.
because there wasn't room for the other shelves that I used to have to put them on. But I
Mm.
saw a place where I could build shelves, so I did.
Mm.
Alrighty.
But I feel like you guys know this too. I can't imagine what it must be like for you guys when you move. Because like with between the vinyl and the posters and the artwork and
It's a lot.
the
It's a lot. We did it a couple times and recently, and it's definitely a struggle when you're not
right.
firmly entrenched in a place. So yeah, no, we'd love to cut down, but we donate a
Well,
lot back and
except like I always say I'd love to cut down, and then it's like I'm holding it and going, but not this one,
yeah,
and not this one, and not this one. Like the Marie Kondo, does it bring you joy? Yes. Yes, it does. It all brings me joy. Even if I haven't played it in 10 years, knowing that it's up on the shelf brings me joy.
no, I understand. No.
Yeah.
So this has been fabulous. It always has. You've got to run. I need to return a phone call. Um, we'll have to get together again sometime soon, and I'll try to road trip your way, and we'll go to a ball game or something.
That'd be
Um,
lovely to have a nice long baseball conversation sometime in the near
exactly.
future. That would be a
Yeah.
Well,
lot of
I mean,
fun.
we had a nice long baseball conversation right here. You guys are welcome to text me and say, "Hey, do you want to Zoom and talk baseball?" I will do that at the drop of a hat.
We
Um, that doesn't need
absolutely.
to be planned out. If
No, no,
you're in a,
no.
I feel like talking baseball.
It'd be our pleasure.
Would be.
It's the
Um,
main conversation in this house without screamings.
so
This has been a blast. Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Lily and Generoso, their new book is The Interpretant. And it's so good. Go pick it up at your finer bookstores, Lion's Tooth in Milwaukee, uh, Howling Pages
Woo-hoo.
in Chicago. I'm certain some other ones, or
Domino books.
Domino has them, or if you hit their link tree, they have links to all the places that are selling them online, so you can pick out who to buy any of their books from. Um,
And we also
and
put
you
up a
should.
spiffy new website too
Yes,
recently.
spiffy new
Finally, our fifth
website.
book.
Yes, and so it also has a list of the
I,
retailers at
I,
the
I,
bottom.
yes, I did see that. The spiffy new website, plasticgrapes.org.
Yes, we
Did you,
spent we spent many Lily spent, I should say, like hundreds of hours on it. Now, when we finished the book, there's 5 books in, we're like, the link trees definitely helps having the social media channels. But let's make like it's a very basic website. And
yeah,
Lily made this really pretty little website. And yeah, so that's plasticgrapes.org for all of your plastic grapes
plasticgrapes.org.
needs.
That's right.
Thanks, Ted,
A-
for
and
talking to us.
links to your interviews at Inc. 19. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
a one-stop shop for the Fieros.
And the last thing, our conversations, something we've been really proud of over the last year is we've been doing interviews of other comics creators for Canon, which was
Oh,
just Eisner nominated. It just got
cool,
nominated
cool.
for the Eisner, and we've been our most recent ones with Dustin Holland, Pick Up Lords of Pagana, really great interpretation, and there's links. There's going to be links to that as well on the website. So yeah,
Yeah,
Indeed.
I'm gonna have to go pick that up. And I like email with Dustin regularly because he's also a comics publicist, but I haven't actually pinned him down to be on the show yet. I need to remember to do that
please do
because,
so. He's great.
We love Dustin.
because like literally one of the first emails I sent after I got a publicity email was I shot back a photo of my copy of his Doghead. Is it just
Sunset,
Doghead or yeah, Doghead
Jughead
Sunset? And
Sunset.
I'm like,
Yep.
are you this Dustin Holland? He's like, yeah.
He's great to talk to. And Chad Bilyeu, by the way, if you don't know
Oh, I
Chad
love
Bilyeu,
Chad. Chad's been
yeah,
on.
yeah,
I love Chad.
he's awesome. So
I
yeah,
need to have
great,
him
great
back on.
possible future
He
interviews.
he
Yeah,
he's he he's another one that has you gotta. I managed to catch him while he was in the States the last time he was on
Mm-hmm.
because it was relative because he I don't think he came out the last time because go figure people aren't coming to the United States the way they used to, particularly if they don't have white skin. I don't know why. The Supreme Court says there's a big nothing burger. That was their thing yesterday. But uh, Chad's great. It's just I can only schedule interviews with him when I can work the Amsterdam. But I was literally he was on my list of people to email this week. So now he went higher
oh,
because
cool.
I gotta figure out where we're at with the re-up. Is there a
Absolutely.
new issue yet? So anyway, thank you guys so much for 22 panels. This has been Lilia and Generoso, and we will see you after the next page.